In this series, we're getting you ready to work a game in a crew of 3 umpires. Now, working crew of 3 mechanics takes a long time to learn and perfect, but in 4 videos, we're going to break down all the basics you need to get out there on the field and be successful. And that starts in this video with us breaking down the starting positions in a crew of 3. Hey everyone, Patrick Farber from GHSA Baseball Umpire Development and Umpire Classroom, where we help umpires develop their knowledge and skills. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe and check out our new podcast, The Pregame, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, for our new umpires, you can check out the Umpire 101 course at umpireclassroom.com. To start, I want to point out that there are multiple ways to run a crew of 3, and that there is a difference between how it is run at some of the highest levels, such as a difference between professional baseball and collegiate baseball. What I'm going to teach you today is the mechanics from the CCA, which is the college mechanics, but I'll try to point out some of the key differences so that you and your crews can discuss which option you're most comfortable with. And ultimately, this leads up to the most crucial part of the crew of 3. You have to know where both of your partners are and what they are doing at all times. Often, most of your partners below the collegiate level only run a crew of 3 a handful of times a year, so mistakes are going to happen. We have to be prepared to cover those mistakes when they occur. Remember, the only people at your game who know how to run a crew of 3 are just going to be you and the other 2 umpires on the field. As long as you can make sure every play has a calling umpire and not 2 calling umpires, you should be able to hide any mistakes. Just remember to always keep tabs on where your partners are and communicate loudly as necessary. Over-communicating on rotations makes a crew look like they're working hard. First, let's review different starting positions. Of course, the plate umpire will always start behind the plate, and it will be our base umpires moving to different positions. For simplicity, we will refer to these positions using abbreviations such as A and B. The A position in a crew of 3 is the same as it is in a crew of 2. We'll be in foul territory up the first base line, in a set position roughly 10 to 15 feet behind the first baseman. And just like in a crew of 2, if the first baseman plays deeper, we will continue to stay behind the first baseman, but may have to close down our distance so we can still cover our responsibilities. If the first baseman plays in, we'll move in as well, but don't want to get closer than 10 feet to the bag. Note that it is acceptable that if the first base umpire is in the A position with the first baseman holding a runner, we may take a position closer to the bag and potentially a little further into foul territory to make calls on pickoffs to first. Moving on, we hit the B position, which is exactly the same as it is in a crew of 2, on a line from the point of the plate and tangent to the edge of the mound, as well as halfway between the cutout at second and the back of the mound. Now, that's the B position, but we won't use it in a crew of 3. Instead, we'll use deep B. Similar to B, this position is on the first base side of the infield, but further back towards where the grass of the infield meets the infield dirt. This position may be on the same line as regular B, or potentially pinched in more towards the second base bag. In this position, the umpire will have his feet squared towards the third base line and not to the plate. When we have an umpire in deep B, that umpire will never be responsible for a pickoff at first, but we'll have to be ready for plays developing quickly at second base. Also, we should be standing on the infield grass and not the dirt or in the base path. Moving on to the third base side of the infield, we have the C position and deep C position, which are the inverse of the B position options. That said, in a crew of 3, we can throw out deep C position, which has more or less been removed, as most umpires prefer deep B for a steal into second. Otherwise, the traditional C position is what we will need on that side of the infield because it provides a good angle for plays back into second or third and steals going into third base. If we are too deep in the C position, we'll struggle on steals into third and back picks. Finally, we get to the D position, which is the inverse of the A position. And just like the A position, we should be entirely in foul territory when in D. The manual provides one exception for this. If we have a runner on third taking a lead in foul territory, it may be acceptable for the umpire to straddle the line if that's needed to see the batter and check swings. So those are our potential starting locations. Now let's review when we will start in each one. And before getting started, I want to let you know that with 2 outs, we will always return the first base umpire to the A position. This means that with 2 outs and runners on base other than a runner at third base only, the third base umpire will need to come into the infield. So with no runners on, we have umpires on both foul lines in the A and D positions. Anytime an umpire is on the line in A or D, they'll have responsibility for fair foul decisions from the front edge of their bag all the way to the foul pole. When a base umpire is on a line, the plate umpire will cover fair foul up to the front edge of the bag on that side. Any foul line that does not have a base umpire will give fair foul responsibilities to the plate umpire. Next, with a runner on first base only, the first base umpire will be in the A position. In fact, anytime there are 2 outs, no runners on, or at least first base is occupied, it is guaranteed that the first base umpire will be in the A position. For our third base umpire, we want to be in deep B with R1 only. Deep B provides us with a great angle to see a steal into second base. Moving on to R2 only, with less than 2 outs, the first base umpire will be in the deep B position and the third base umpire in the D position. This will provide U3 with a great view on steals into third base, while giving U1 a close angle for pickoffs into second. With 2 outs, U1 goes back to A and U3 comes into the C position, so they can cover pickoffs into second and steals into third. With R3 only, regardless of the number of outs, both umpires will start in the A and D positions. The key here is that both umpires need to be prepared to go into the middle depending on how a play may develop. Now, moving on to multiple runners, if there are runners on first and second, first and third, or if the bases are loaded, then U1 will be in the A position and U3 will be in the C position. We use the C position because it splits the difference between second and third, and we don't have to worry about pickoffs and plays at first base because U1 is already there. Moving on, with second and third bases occupied, then we get another positioning dependent on the number of outs. With less than 2 outs, U1 will start in the deep B position to handle pickoffs to second. U3 will start in the D position for pickoffs and steals at third base. Before moving forward, remember how the plate umpire obviously doesn't change positions? Well, it's essential that they're still reviewing the starting positions of their partners, especially after plays that develop without a batted ball, as well as anytime we have 2 outs. We spoke previously about no one at the game knowing the proper crew of 3 mechanics, but our plate umpire needs to ensure that at least one partner is working in the middle when necessary. So for my crews, we establish in our pregame that if there's a mistake and the plate umpire notices it, he'll call time and wipe the plate. Thus, every time the plate umpire wipes the plate, the base umpires should look at each other and rethink if they're in the correct positions. Before wrapping up this portion on crew of 3 positioning, I want to point out a couple of other positions for your crew to be aware of. During the plate meeting, the base umpires will always stand on the infield side of the plate, while the plate umpire will stand at the point of the plate. During the national anthem, the plate umpire will stand at the point of the plate, while U1 will stand behind the left-handed batter's box, and U3 will stand behind the right-handed batter's box. After the national anthem, the 2 base umpires will jog in foul territory down their foul line and assume a position in the shallow outfield on their side. It is permissible to meet between innings, but should not necessarily be every half inning. So that's our recap on starting positions for a crew of 3. There's obviously a lot more to cover, so be sure to like this video, leave a comment letting me know if you're watching this before working your first game in a crew of 3, and I'll see you in part 2.